Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Masters Madrid is just around the corner and big praise being given to Sentinels by none other than Marved, former Sen player of course last season, now on the Gen.G team that just missed out to qualify for the international event based on their defeat to Sentinels. As Marved goes on to say, very impressed by his second and 10's performances, especially how will that transfer when they get to Madrid, certainly given their setup. And also Boaster saying that he's maybe not a massive fan of the format that happens in the EMEA side. He feels that if they'd have played any other team than KC, they probably would have made it to Madrid. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, just an update here on the Game Changers North America Series 1. FlyQuest Red did take down Decimate 3-1 in the end, so of course they advance on to play SR in a rematch. This is, well, in a few hours time, and it's SR FlyQuest Red best of 5 to determine the Series 1 champions in the North American side. But most of the teams around the world now arriving out there in Madrid for the event. We know that there was a long travel day, as we discussed yesterday, right, with Gen.G and the others getting there just about on time. And yeah, here of course are all the boys. No Pancada in sight, of course. No Curry in sight either here for Sentinels, right? Because Curry said that while yes, he is now their new 6th man, they're unlikely to need him. It probably makes more sense for him really to stay out there in America, and if they need him at some point, if something comes up, then sure, he can get on a plane and get out there ASAP. But if that's not the case, they won't need him. And I'm guessing it's interesting in the sense that Riot, because we believe they paid for the travel here, are they paying for the travel of the sub as well? Because, you know, we're pretty sure that Riot paid for it based on what Gen.G said. He was like, yeah, Riot booked us the worst flights possible. We're flying from, you know, LA to Turkey, to Istanbul, and then back to Madrid, which is still another, you know, 4.5-hour flight pretty much, which is kind of crazy. But, yeah, so that seemed to be the case. Maybe they pay for the other stuff as well. I don't really know. But Curry could have gone possibly, but they thought that it probably wasn't the wisest thing to do. And of course, there's been big questions recently on Pancada, right? We, of course, talked about the rumours around his future yesterday. The Cloud9 stuff, but that's probably not going to happen. Furia, for sure, and Leviathan are probably, you know, Lev, to me, it makes the most sense, I would say, right now. But I think it does depend somewhat on what happens during Masters Madrid. But Sen have made it quite clear that they are looking to part ways with Pancada. They want him to go to another team. They want to, you know, do right by him, because obviously he's been kind of hard done by, right, in a sense. But obviously Zeltis has been a massive improvement to many aspects to their team. Here he is, of course, Mr. Employee of the Month, if not year, on the kind of left-hand side of the shot. So the Sentinels guys get out there. Obviously, Pancada will be biding his time looking at his options. I wonder what Pancada's thought process was as well over the last few weeks, right? Because I imagine that when Sentinels were not struggling, but, you know, they started out with the defeat to Loud, the feeling was, well, you know, are they going to be as good as maybe they look to the Africa TV International Invitational Tournament, all this stuff during the off-season? Pancada might be thinking, all right, well, if they go out here, maybe it's my chance to get back in the team. But, of course, the way things went, that never happened, and now Pancada's been exploring other options elsewhere. So Sassy here trying to get life in the practice room and all this type of stuff makes sense, to be fair. They're out here a fair few days early, and, you know, that gives them a good little runway going into the event itself. Wonder who they'll scrim, right? Because they can play EU ranks, they can play EU teams, they can play lots of the EMEA teams that didn't qualify, which is probably the way to do it, right? There's plenty of good EMEA teams that didn't make it to the event. Fnatic being, of course, one major one of them, and Na'Vi as well, right? The two teams that probably we thought would make it. There's other good teams as well, you know, Liquid among many others. Like, obviously, KOI made a bit of a run as well. They looked okay for a time, but it definitely should mean that there's good practice opportunities for these guys out there in Madrid going into the big event itself in a few days' time, which, of course, there are big teams not playing. So here is Toys as well for Loud, getting ready to go as well. And as Zekid says, I've spent all my EU ranked games so far trying to get people to buy the bundle, right? So fair play, as Zeltis says, keep going, young Padawan. Said bundle. And again, it's funny, right? I looked through Zeltis' tweets briefly, and there were just so many replies that I just had to give up and go down a different way. But of course, Sentinels, they won the most recent event. It's interesting for Marved, right? Because he was on that team last year. Yes, they made a couple of changes. Def was gone in the middle of the season. Marved came into IGL, those guys, but they wanted Gen.G to do that role instead. And if there's one player that's made the biggest difference, I would say, to Sentinels, I think it's got to be Gen.G. The other guys deserve credit as well, but what he's done from an in-game leading perspective, and also slaying hard when necessary, getting the best out of the talent on the team, really impressive. Marv was never really expected to do that job on that kind of level. It was kind of like a last-minute Hail Mary. All right, Marv is not opposed to IGLing. Let's give it a go. But now he's on NRG, and they were, of course, hoping to beat Sentinels to get through to Masters Madrid. That never happened, however, so a couple of clips here to share for you guys on Marv discussing the individual performances by Zekken and 10's, right? The series they played, they had the double 30 bombs. It's like, Marv's thinking, what am I meant to do against against that as an NRG player right now. And of course, also reminiscent maybe of like Prime Ye that Marved played with on that classic Optic team a couple of years back now. But also Boaster discussing just how he feels about the loss to Carmine Corp going into the event.
In chat. What's your prediction? Sentinels versus Heretics? I think Sentinels win. I think we would have beaten Heretics, and I think we would have beaten Na'Vi. I think Carmine Corp was just... They were just the one... They're the one team in scrims that I thought was good as well, which is annoying. I wish we didn't scrim them now. We gave them... I think we gave them confidence against us. I'd rather remain a mystery to them. Oh, we've never played Fnatic, but we weren't to know. We weren't to know. So Chronicle gets a big kill. I want to see... Yeah, I mean, this guy gets one.
I had the first map, but then ran with it, but we lost, so... They both had 30 kills each.
Yeah.
Bro shooting like yay. First smasher up, bet. Holy, look at this queue.
So this was that all-important, right, Map 1 Sunset that Sentinels won against NRG in a series that eventually went 2-1. They lost the Ascent 13-8. They then won the split in dominant fashion. But if the Sunset had gone a different way, arguably NRG win the series and they qualify for Masters Madrid after, given what happened on the Ascent rides. But no, Sentinels, they won this game 1. Tens had 30, Zekken had 31. Yes, pretty deep overtime, but, you know, both of those guys had incredible individual performances on that map, and Ethan had a surprisingly hard time looking back at it now. The other big series, though, to mention around the world at the time was, of course, Fnatic KC. And it's between, to me, KC and Sentinels in terms of who's the favourite for the event, because KC played pretty much impeccable VALORANT. They ended up winning the tournament as well, taking down Heretics that up until that point in the finals were basically undefeated. And obviously beating Fnatic in a 2-0 fashion was just super impressive. And in some sense, they kind of swatted them aside. 13-10, 13-8. Especially the Lotus, I thought, was really impressive from KC, because that was Fnatic's picking them up. They've looked really good on so far. But as Boaster says, he feels like if Fnatic are plays in the other side of the bracket, right? So, of course, these were the playoffs and randomly drawn to some degree. Sure, you can't play a team that you've been in the group with before, but apart from that, it's basically randomized. Only best of threes. I just think that, you know, were Fnatic worse than KC? Yes. But were they still the second best team in the region? Possibly. We're not going to know. Boaster feels like if they'd have been drawn against Heretics or Na'Vi, they'd have won both of those series. So, and that may be true. I guess we just don't know. Heretics went on to lose 3-1 to KC in the finals as well. So there's an argument that, you know, this was not too dissimilar in some ways to the Fnatic KC series. So I think it would have been a battle between Fnatic and Heretics. I do feel like Fnatic are better than Na'Vi right now for sure. So to me, Fnatic are either the second or the third best team in the region, but just the way that the format worked, we didn't really get the chance to see that because, you know, it wasn't double L in playoffs, right? Just a single L in playoffs, which to me was leaving a little bit, you know, something to be desired. Now, the way that it's worked out in the ends, the teams that are going, you get Heretics with this like local fan base support in some sense. KC, of course, massive fan base. It actually, in terms of picking the teams, if you could handpick the teams, you couldn't do a much better job in terms of choosing what's best for the storylines of this tournament, right? But yeah, this is how it looks. Loud sent Heretics KC, just to quickly show you guys what the first upcoming matches are. So it's in 4 days' time now. We have KC versus FPX, the first round game. That's really nice for KC, of course, on paper. Gen.G Loud, Edward PaperX, and of course, the final game is going to be Sentinels Heretics. And, you know, maybe if the bracket was different, that could have been Sentinels Fnatic, possibly. But no, it's Heretics. Sen are going to be favoured in that series, definitely. But still, Heretics played really well. Not a team that you want to overlook at all. And as, you know, Boaster said, maybe they shouldn't have scrimmed KC because maybe they gave too much away in those scrims because maybe they didn't expect KC to be as good as they turned out to be, of course. But options there for what's going to happen over the coming days, absolutely. Thought it was interesting just to note, right, because Bleed are making a roster change. Whether we ever get that yay to which Marved refers back again, that's a big question of many. Ye was obviously at his best on the Jet, but certainly the Chamber meta when it was an Optic. Cloud9 didn't work out, of course. No, DSG didn't work out, of course. Now he's on Bleed, and they made a couple of roster changes to facilitate this. They're not going to give up on Ye. And he did have his moments at the Madrid qualifiers or the kickoff for the Pacific, but it wasn't great, was it? So I guess there's a feeling in the community as to whether we're ever going to get that version of Ye back again. And I guess I'll just do a quick one of these. Who do you think is going to win Masters Madrid? Hit the stop, and it's going to be Sentinels. Can you believe it? There you go. Out of the 8 teams, I didn't even mean to do that. But I guess as Ethan says, it's probably time to buy the bundle. So very much enjoy to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.